Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're opening up a case file that literally defies logic. We're heading back to 2008 to a luxury apartment building in Chicago to look at a terrifying series of events known as the Mystery of Floor 9. And as we go through the visual evidence today and really try to picture the chaos of the scene, I want you to keep one crucial thing in mind. Everything we're about to cover, it was officially documented, reported by multiple residents, and fully investigated by the police.
Seriously, ask yourself, what would you actually do if you got a call from a floor that doesn't even exist? It sounds impossible, right? Kind of like the setup to a horror movie. But this is the exact chilling premise that completely shattered reality for the residents of this Chicago high-rise. To understand how something this impossible could even happen, we first need to get a clear picture of the physical environment.
It's this incredibly jarring dichotomy. On the outside, you've got this super expensive, updated building that just radiates modern luxury. But hidden away from the public eye is a deeply disturbing history. Years earlier, a massive, devastating fire ripped through the building, destroying almost all of the 9th floor. The damage was so severe, and honestly, the history was so dark that management made a drastic decision. They permanently sealed the entire floor.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. A building's dark secret, the sealed floor.
15. For over 15 years following that deadly fire, the entire 9th floor just sat there, completely abandoned. I mean, think about that. Not a single living person was supposed to be up there in that ruined, ghostly debris for a decade and a half.
So let's break down what sealed actually meant for this building, because it's absolutely crucial. First, no tenants. Obviously, nobody lived there. Second, no electricity. The power grid to the entire floor had been physically severed right after the fire. And third, no access. The stairwell doors were heavily chained from the outside, and the elevators were literally programmed to bypass the floor entirely. It was a complete structural dead zone. So logically, physically, electrically, the events that follow simply could not happen.
Which brings us to Section 2, the midnight phone calls.
This is the inciting incident that shattered those 15 years of silence. Reports started flooding in from multiple, completely unconnected residents across different floors. Every single night, right around 2 a.m., the peace was broken. I mean, picture this. Terrified residents, faces glowing in the harsh light of their phones in the dead of night, receiving these calls. The caller ID just showed unknown numbers. But here's the kicker. The internal switchboard data, it indicated the calls were originating from inside the building, specifically from the dead zone, floor 9.
The audio profile of these calls escalated in a very specific, documented pattern. Imagine waking up in the pitch dark at 2 a.m. and answering your phone. At first, residents reported hearing just static, just this empty, crackling interference. But then it shifted to breathing, slow, heavy breathing. A lot of people slammed the phone down right there, and you really can't blame them. But those paralyzed by fear, the ones who listened just a few seconds longer, heard the final phase. A quiet, distinct whisper.
Come upstairs. Just 2 words. Imagine the absolute terror of hearing that from a floor you know for a fact has been a burnt-out tomb for 15 years. Naturally, the police were contacted immediately, multiple times. They arrived, unlocked those heavy chains, and swept the ruined 9th floor with their flashlights. But every single time, the investigation ended the exact same way. They found absolutely nothing. Not a single person was there.
Moving on to Section 3, the 2:13 a.m. footage.
Now, you might be thinking audio evidence can be written off, right? A prank, a glitch in the old wiring, sure. But when security guards pulled the visual evidence and reviewed the internal cameras, the mystery escalated entirely. Every night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., the internal tracking showed one elevator mysteriously stopping on the sealed 9th floor. The doors would open to the dark hallway, wait, and close. Just empty. But 3 weeks into this whole phenomenon, things changed. At 2:13 a.m., the elevator stops. The doors open. But this time, standing directly outside in the darkness is a shadowy figure. In the very next second, the figure steps forward, and the entire camera system instantly cuts to black. When the visual feed finally returns seconds later, the elevator is completely empty. Let's focus on the visual description of that anomaly on the tape for a second. Tall, motionless, faceless. The security guards literally couldn't make out any identifying features. It was just this void of a person standing in a hallway that hadn't seen the light of day in over a decade. And seeing this visual proof,
Well, that was enough to force a massive physical escalation. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. Opening the sealed floor.
The police were called right back, and this time they were going in deep. Step 1, they forced their way past the sealed perimeter. The air was thick, dust blanketing all this burnt furniture that had been untouched since the fire. Step 2, right by the elevator doors, they shined their flashlights down and found fresh, glowing footprints right there in the thick dust. Step 3, drawing their weapons, the officers actually followed these tracks deep into the pitch-black hallway. And Step 4, the tracks came to a sudden dead stop directly in front of one specific door, apartment 903.
And listen, apartment 903 wasn't just some random room. This was ground zero. This was the exact apartment where the deadly fire originally sparked all those years ago. The tracks led straight back to the source of the tragedy. The officers braced themselves and pushed that charred, ominous door wide open.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the ringing phone.
What they found inside seriously defies every known law of physics. Sitting there in the pitch dark, right in the middle of the charred remains of the apartment, was an old telephone. The cord was completely frayed and severed from the wall. I mean, there were no active phone lines on the entire floor, let alone this specific room. Yet, the phone was ringing. A completely disconnected piece of plastic and wire just echoing loudly in this silent, ruined room.
To this day, nobody knows who or honestly what was making those midnight calls. The official police report remains open, totally unexplained, but the urban legend within that luxury building definitely persists. Some residents claim that late at night, if the building gets completely eerily silent, you can still hear the faint sound of a phone ringing upstairs. Which leaves us with the ultimate haunting question: what actually happens when you answer? If the stories are true, you'll hear the static, you'll hear the breathing, and a voice will whisper, "Come upstairs." Thanks for joining me to unpack this impossible case file in today's Explainer. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because clearly, some floors were never meant to be reopened.